Welcome back everyone. In this video I get a bit carried away and bite off more than I can chew and decide to respray the front of my Hymer despite having never sprayed anything. My bright idea here is to use an old gazebo as a paint booth basically and adapt it so that we're able to, move out of the way dog, we're able to spray the front. Now to do that we're going to have to make it higher, so we've got a bit of 2x1 batten here and we're going to construct a frame that's also going to allow an extraction fan and ducting like that, and also mean we can run in a compressor air hose to run a paint gun. We're also going to need to ensure that the air coming into our improvised paint booth is clean, so we'll use one of these fiberglass filters. And if you're wondering where I'm getting all this stuff, my neighbour is a painter for a living, so he's also paint matched the colour of the Hymer. So that's the plan. There's the gazebo first up. As you can see, the main problem we've got is it's not high enough. That's why we're going to build this wooden frame to go underneath it to lift the whole thing up so that it will basically slide over and cover the top of the Hymer. Probably could have done with getting a slightly bigger gazebo. This is 2.7, the Hymer's 2.2, so it's only just going to fit. Might be fun when we come to spray, and you can see we're going to have to kind of fold the mirrors in out the way on this. The main point we're painting up to is this kind of diagonal join between the front of the cab and the side. So just to show you what we're going to do, we're going to have to create a booth that will go above it. So there you go, that's the wooden frame. That's going to fold up against the front of the van, you'll see it more in a minute, and create sort of a front third paint booth for the van really. And then we're going to have to build the rest to go around it. So we're going to have to do that twice, then kind of slide the thing forward so that it encases the front of the van up to about that point. So we'll build a couple of those, put that together, there it is. That literally took 5 seconds, as you can see. And this now slides over the front of the van, but it needs to go past where we want to spray, because obviously we need to mask off what we're doing. So I'll just show you that now here. So you can see we've got a bottom brace to hold the thing in place. And here you can see we need to make sure that it slides past the top point of spraying, which is going to be there where that diagonal hits the roof. So we've got to go past that with the booth. So that's why this frame goes there, and then we should be able to mask the thing in. So that's the plan. It took me about an hour to knock that frame together, but that's also important because we're going to need that frame to hold the ventilation system, and we're going to take the bumper and bonnet off first and spray that separately. In terms of ventilation, on this panel we're going to put in that fiberglass air filter to filter incoming air, and on this panel we're going to create a circular exit for the ducting, that yellow ducting you saw earlier with that big fan. So the air comes in what is the right, gets filtered, and then the fan sucks out fumes. Here's the fiberglass filter. It's a pretty cheap bit of thing. It's going to sit there like that, and there it is in place in a little frame I built. So that will filter incoming air. It just fits snug into that frame. Happily it's the same width as the wood, so that was handy. And we've just built a little retaining piece on the left, and also there'll be one on the right, so you can't push the filter in too far or it doesn't get sucked in. So incoming air filtration. Next job was removing the bumper. Now someone said, yeah, it's 6 bolts, 2 there, 2 on the other side, and 1 round each side. On the corner, there's one of the bolts, and then you'll see the 2 bolts which hold the front on. So we've got 6 bolts here, but they were not easy. Every single one almost was rusted on. It took some time to undo those. I won't show it, but it's rusty bolts, you just got to do it. So here it is, bumper off. You can see the braces that were holding it on. All 10mm bolts with washers and nuts. that go through that strip. That strip's behind the rubbery plastic bump strip, which just pulls off actually. And you can see the same on the other side, a bit of corrosion there, and in fact that left hand side runner is quite bad, that one. We'll come back to that later. But yeah, in theory you should just unbolt it, but in practice it took ages. And here's the fancy tools you need. An angle grinder. I ended up cutting every bolt off and removing the aluminium straps which hold on that rubbery bumper protector, because every single one was rusted, and to do a good paint job you need to remove those alley strips anyway, so we've done that. And then next job really is prepping for paint. So we removed the locks, which was easy enough to do. We're going to have to mask up the badge. I'm not going to try and pull that off because it doesn't seem to want to come off. And then some grey scuff pads. And really what you're doing here, you're just taking the shine off the plastic so the paint adheres to it. You're just keying it up. And after a bit of snow foaming and scrubbing, then you can see the bumper came up pretty nice and clean. So again, lots of scrubbing, lots of degreasing. Interestingly, that strip on the top, I think it's been rubbing against the body. Anyway, here's the end caps on the rubber bumper strips. They're pretty old, but they're bolted in as well. So we're going to get some new ones of those, and we'll get some new rubber strip as well. That's the rubber strip. As you can see, it was probably white originally, but now it's grubby. And that just pulls off those aluminium strips. And there you can see the end caps. So we will be getting some new replacements for that. Vicious dog attack that happened during my working day. A&E was not needed. Right, so at this point things go a bit wrong. My plan was now to put up my frame, put up my gazebo, bolt it all on top, wrap plastic around it, and encase the front. But that didn't happen. Instead, it was so windy, there was no way I could erect a gazebo with 20-mile-an-hour gusting winds. So we've had to empty the garage and improvise, and we've moved the entire paint booth inside. Now this won't work when I come to paint the cab, but it will work for painting the bumper and the bonnet, which is what I'm going to try first. So here we are, we're kind of set up, ready to go. Took a couple of hours to set the booth up inside, repurpose some of the gazebo. It's not perfect, but hopefully it will do the job. And this week I'm going to be trying to paint in my homemade spray booth for the first time ever. Let's see how that goes. There's the extraction duct sitting there, there's the hose. We should be having fun. Here we go. So painting's going to begin. I can't record it because I'll get paint all over the camera, so we'll cut to the next day. After leaving it overnight, let's see how we got on. First impressions are it didn't go too bad. So this is 3 coats with about 10-15 minutes between each. It's plastic, so it's a bit more forgiving. Obviously I need to get it out in the light, hello dog, and have a look. I did get one tiny drip right on the corner, but you can't even see it. But overall first impressions was not a complete disaster. And like with so many jobs, hours and hours of setup, prep, and then it's all over. The spraying actually took about 45 minutes, probably took me several hours to prep for it, and then I've got to take it all back down again. I'm just going to chuck all this plastic in the bin because I can't be bothered neatly undoing it all and everything, so that's in the bin, frame down, job done for another day. So now we've got the bumper and the bonnet out in the light, we can have a look. That's actually where the plastic's worn away, so nothing to do there. But actually looking at it, there's a little bit of orange peeling. The top of the bumper just here is a little bit speckled. You could give that a light sand, but really compared to what it was, it's massively different. And you'll see some colour comparison between old and new. So it's not perfect, but it is a massive improvement. And for my first spray job, on the Hymer, I'm relatively happy with that. I'm not going to be able to do the rest of the vehicle until the weather calms down now, so we'll just have to wait and see. I think that's going to be a part 2 video because I need no wind to paint, so we'll have to wait and see. And here you can just see for colour comparison, this is the old bump strip. I imagine that was white, but look at it, look at the difference, amazing. I'm trying to find white bump strips, but I can only find black, so I think I'll be having a black bump strip and black end caps. Look a bit different, but yeah, that's going in the bin. So I said earlier there was a bit of a rust issue with one of the side runners on the bumper supports. Front are fine, but we need a pretty straightforward weld repair here. Make it a plate, just remove that bracket first, get that out of the way, weld in a new plate and clean that all up. I won't film all that because that's standard welding stuff which you can see anywhere on YouTube. So once that's done, we'll go to getting the bumper back on. I've just put the bonnet on and here's the end result. Quite a difference between the old faded white, which is now cream, and a nice new white. So before we put the bumper on, we need to reattach the rails. As I said, all the old M6 nuts, bolts and washers had it. So I've got some new M6. The originals were 25mm, but 30 is what was available. So I got those. You need 14 of those. Normal M6 bolts for most of the fastenings. But for the ones that hold on the bumper brackets, it had nylocks. So those two there at the front and also on the side runner, so you need 6 nylocks to keep it nice and safe. Now I was going to buy new rubbers and caps, but they're ludicrously expensive, so I've scrubbed these up a few times. They're still faded, but at least they're clean and keyed up now. You can see the difference. They used to be cream or white, but I think they were white. But anyway, we're going to respray them white with a bit of plastic dip. After keying it up and degreasing, here's 2 coats. It's going to be 4 coats. I wasn't sure if it was white or cream because the strips you can buy is cream, but it looks like originally it was white. So yeah, we're going for white because that'll match the bumper. Let's see how it looks. So here we are with the bumper back on after lots of wrestling. Definitely a 2-man job. You need to line up those front brackets with the 2 bolt holes on each. That's not easy because they are kind of spring loaded in a sense. Definitely need someone to hold it and someone else to kind of push the bolts through, line the holes up. Quite tricky that. You'll need to lie on the ground while someone else holds it, but it's back on, bolted up. I've just done it loose at the moment, but as you can see, that's looking pretty smart now. Next job is to just add the rubber strips back on to cover it up, and there we are. So although they're white and the rail, they just kind of clip on with a bit of persuasion, but yeah, looking good, so I'm happy with that. So the next big job, as we say, is to paint the rest of the front end. Tune in for the next part. If you've enjoyed this, you can like and subscribe. Thanks for now.